So the Supreme Court's recent verdict on scrapping down the IT Act of 66A has been widely welcomed by everyone. What are your thoughts on the verdict?
I welcome it. I am very happy about this verdict because, and in fact, I am grateful to Supreme Court. I am grateful to Supreme Court. I thank Supreme Court because, you see, the Supreme Court has upheld the fundamental principle of democracy, and it has kind of controlled the powerful people's tendency of controlling everything. Mm-hmm. And you must also remember that this particular section was added to the Information Technology Act without any debate whatsoever in the House. The House was in uproar for whatever reason when it was introduced in December 2008, and it was not discussed at all. It was passed, nobody bothered, and it became part of the law, became part of the IT Act. And after that, it was supposed to be used in case where there is a possibility of hatred, hate-mongering, offensive comments and all that. But as we know, this particular section has been used only to massage the ego of the powerful. In the first well-known and discussed case, it was used by Congress government in Maharashtra against a girl who wrote something about Mumbai coming to a standstill because of the funeral of Bala Sahib Thackeray. Mm-hmm. In another case, it was used...
Misused.
Misused, yes, that's the right expression, you are absolutely right. It was misused in a case of someone making some comments about Mr. Chidambaram. Then it was again misused against a professor in Kolkata who had forwarded some cartoons which were deemed offensive to the Chief Minister.
Okay.
That is Mamata Banerjee.
So now, when we say misuse, there have been instances in the country where I think it might have been used, the IT Act. For instance, during the Muzaffarnagar violence, when that video was doctored or whatever, I don't want to go into the details.
That exactly was the rationalization or justification given by Mr. Kapil Sibal. Mm-hmm. That the freedom at net is being misused, mm-hmm. and everybody is putting up everything which is very, very problematic for law and order situation in the country, and therefore we need to have reasonable restrictions. But Ritambra, as the Supreme Court, Honorable Supreme Court has pointed out in its verdict, that Article 19 of Indian Constitution provides for freedom of expression. And the clause 2 of the same article also provides for the reasonable restrictions. Mm-hmm. There are already laws dealing with this reasonable restriction business. What this IT 66A was doing, that it was actually making a virtual world even more controlled world. Mm-hmm. I mean, for example, if I write something about the funeral of Bala Sahib Thackeray in a newspaper article, nobody will take any action against it. But on net, it will be immediately taken because 66A gave wide-ranging powers which were bound to be abused to the police officer and to law enforcing agencies. Now, for example, this particular video, this doctored video which was circulated in Western Uttar Pradesh immediately before the Lok Sabha elections and led to a lot of communal violence, this could have been dealt with under IPC itself, Indian Penal Code. Mm-hmm. It could have been dealt with already existing laws. You do not need a law specifically to control the internet. And as we know from our experience, and as the Supreme Court has also noted in its verdict, that this law was never actually used in a serious and purposeful manner. This was destined to be misused. This was put there to be misused. And that is why you must remember, this law has been used or misused by Congress, by BJP, by Trinamool Congress, by Samajwadi Party.
We have, as you said, we have laws under IPC against hate speech, etc. Mm-hmm. Can you say that 66A was put in the constitution just to misuse it against someone criticizing someone, some political party or leader on the internet? Has the hate speech law ever been used properly?
No.
Like, because I see a lot of instances where things were said in a public space which should never have been said, But I don't see any repercussions of it legally on that person.
Ratambra, in fact, this is such a sensitive question that it would require a separate discussion in this series. At the moment, let me just say one thing. Freedom of expression has to have reasonable restrictions. But then those reasonable restrictions need to be very, those restrictions need to be restricted. Because something which is hate speech for me could be reasonable expression for you. It's very difficult to decide these things. And frankly, in this particular case, I would like to err on the side of freedom.
Now I'm talking about hate speech where people are talking about कि किसी के हाथ पैर काट देने चाहिए or something like that.
Of course, these things are...
Was the IPC used?
Well, I think IPC also has hardly been used. IPC, that is 153 and 155, has also, I think, hardly been used justifiably. It has also been used in most of the cases in a very arbitrary and politicized manner. But what actually, Ratambra, I really want to focus on, since you have raised this question in the context of
the 66A.
66A, which is about information technology, virtual world, and all this. You see, the problem is that our society, or probably all societies in the world, are still not able to evolve strategies as societies and as states. The strategies to live with this explosion of information and explosion of freedom in a different sense.
So you're saying the society is not ready?
No, society, society and state in particular.
I think it's the state which is not ready. The society has pretty much gone
society,
there.
Ratambra, also society. For example, you know this famous incident of AIP. The kind of reactions, the kind of responses, or the kind of comments you read on anything, good or bad. So I think what has happened, that this virtual world has opened up a world which is actually, or virtually, I don't know, beyond comprehension of our present mindset. What has happened actually, just to focus on one point, if you have traditional media, for example television or newspaper, in order to bring out a newspaper also you need a minimum amount of money, a minimum amount of infrastructure, which is not available to each and every individual. Now in the social media, you just have to have a Facebook account or a Twitter account, and then you become quite kind of independent of doing whatever you want to do. And also, as a reader or as a receiver, you are flooded with so much of information, so much of opinion, that the space of quiet reflection, the solitude, the tendency to reflect, the tendency to talk to oneself, which actually makes human being a unique species, has virtually been eliminated in this era of information technology. That, to my mind, is the fundamental philosophical problem. And we have to evolve the ways of living with that or dealing with that.
Don't you think, but it's like the lure of being covered by the media which drives all these people. Because I really feel that मतलब AIB से जिनको भी ज़्यादा problem थी and all the शोर शराबा that they did, they were covered by the media and they got a lot of coverage. So is it just for the popularity?
That is what I'm saying when I'm saying the question of reflection and solitude. I'm not talking only in the context of social media. I am more talking in the context of traditional media. I mean, look at today's a typical individual, no matter what his or her age. He is with social media throughout the day. He is with television throughout the day. Where is the time to reflect quietly? Where is the time to give him a certain sense of maturity? And therefore, we have this peculiar situation that your sentiments can get hurt at the drop of a hat.
Yes.
You can, in other words, we are becoming a very, very excitable, perpetually excited, perpetually angry society. We are becoming a society with a short fuse. And therefore, I think the most important thing is, particularly for the young generation to whom the future belongs, to deliberately develop a tendency of solitude and reflection, to develop a tendency of thinking quietly, alone, and talking to themselves.
And just
about
relax
everything.
a bit.
Huh?
Just relax a bit.
The relaxation comes when you talk to yourself.
Yeah.
The relaxation comes when you are in solitude. The relaxation comes when you are just reading some good literature or listening to some good music. When you are constantly allowing yourself to be fed with exciting input every moment, then your mind kind of becomes very excitable. And then the state acts the way states have been acting.
Of course.
That okay, you are talking too much, you are talking excitedly, let us curb you, sir. Let us curb you. So let us have this 66A or that, let us have this, let us have that. And then you were talking of that 15-second fame syndrome. That you say something aggressive about AIB or anything which has quote unquote hurt your sentiment or hurt the Indian culture or morality, and you become a TV hero at least for 15 seconds. And that actually add up, all these factors add up to create a society of constant excitement. An individual or a society with perpetually high blood pressure is not a healthy individual or society.